Have you ever stopped to think that maybe it's not bad luck and it's not a lack of effort that's the reason your life isn't moving forward? The truth is that since you were a child, you've been programmed to vibrate at frequencies of fear, scarcity, and limitation. Your attention, instead of creating possibilities, was trained to focus on problems. Your imagination, instead of projecting success, repeats scenarios of failure. And since the subconscious mind doesn't distinguish imagination from reality, each thought that's reinforced by repetition becomes a habit, an emotion, and ultimately a result. While you think you're deciding consciously, it's your paradigm that's commanding your steps. The law of vibration never fails. You can only attract what corresponds to the frequency that you maintain. Now, the question is, who benefits from you vibrating at the wrong frequency?
There's a reason why certain people seem to magnetize opportunities, while others repeat the same cycles of scarcity year after year. The difference isn't in education, in connections, or in luck. It's in something that operates silently in the background of consciousness, something that the ancient Egyptians and Greeks encoded in their hermetic teachings, and that modern science has only begun to measure. The human mind operates through faculties that go beyond the 5 conventional senses. 2 of these faculties, when understood and directed, completely determine which version of reality each person experiences. They are attention and imagination. The Kybalion, a text that preserves ancient hermetic philosophy, reveals through its first principle that the all is mental, the universe is mental. This is not a poetic metaphor from the ancients. It's the literal description of the mechanism through which reality operates. Consider the following. At this exact moment, while you're processing these words, your mind is generating measurable electrical impulses. Each thought produces a specific electromagnetic signature that can be recorded through electroencephalography. When a thought is held for more than 17 seconds, a time that most people never sustain a single thought, the neurons begin to synchronize their firing. A coherent pattern is created. After 68 seconds of this same focus, something remarkable happens. The brain begins to automatically attract thoughts of similar frequency, like a tuning fork that resonates with its corresponding note. Mental will represents this specific capacity to sustain deliberate attention on a single point. It's not willpower in the common sense, it's a higher faculty that can be developed like any muscle. The critical question is, where is your attention at this moment, and in the last 30 minutes, and yesterday? The reality of most people reveals a concerning pattern. The mind jumps between fragments of thought without conscious direction. One moment worried about bills, another remembering an argument, another anticipating a future problem. Each shift generates a different vibrational signal. Imagine a radio station trying to transmit on 5 frequencies simultaneously. The result is static. That's exactly what happens when dispersed attention tries to create any specific result in life. Imagination, in turn, functions as the mechanism through which the energetic matrix of what will be experienced is constructed. The hermetic principle leaves no room for interpretation. Every physical manifestation first exists as a mental construction. Imagination isn't childish fantasy. It's the laboratory where the frequency that will later condense into physical experience is molded. Follow this common pattern mentally. Upon awakening, before even fully opening the eyes, the person is already mentally reconstructing yesterday's problems. During the shower, they elaborate on defensive conversations for situations that haven't happened yet. At breakfast, they visualize scenarios where everything goes wrong. Each of these visualizations is instructing the brain's reticular activating system, the neural structure that filters the billions of bits of available information about what to consider relevant, and it obeys with military precision. The brain processes these imaginary instructions without questioning whether they're beneficial or destructive. A vivid visualization of failure activates the same brain regions as an actual failure. It releases the same neurotransmitters. It produces the same hormonal alterations. Cortisol rises, blood pressure increases, and the immune system is suppressed. The person is biologically experiencing failure before it even exists, and through this biological experience, they're creating the conditions for its manifestation. Here lies the crucial discovery. When you spend hours daily imagining diseases, failed relationships, and financial scarcity, you're not just being negative, you're literally programming your brain to filter and amplify evidence that confirms these expectations. You're instructing every cell in your body to resonate with that specific frequency. The reversal of this pattern doesn't happen through empty affirmations or forced optimism. It requires systematic and deliberate redirection of the imagination. Each destructive visualization must be consciously interrupted and replaced by a specific and detailed mental construction of the desired outcome. Not as vague hope, but as precise mental architecture, colors, textures, sounds, sensations, and emotions. The brain needs to receive clear instructions about which reality to filter and amplify. Daily mental discipline becomes not optional but fundamental. Upon awakening, in the first seconds of consciousness, deliberately direct the imagination to construct the day on your terms. During the day, watch every mental deviation and redirect it. At night, before sleep, mentally review not what happened, but what should have happened, reprogramming the neural impressions while the brain consolidates memories. Those who develop mastery over attention and imagination report a consistent phenomenon. External reality begins to mirror internal mental constructions with disconcerting precision. But this leads us to a fundamental question. What are the precise laws that govern this correspondence between mental frequency and physical manifestation? The answer to how thoughts create physical reality was encoded thousands of years ago in the temples of Egypt and Greece. The third hermetic principle of the Kybalion declares, "Nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates." This single sentence contains the master key to understanding why your focused attention and directed imagination possess literal creative power. Everything in the universe is in constant motion. The seemingly solid table in front of you vibrates. Its atoms move at extraordinary speeds. Electrons orbit nuclei billions of times per second. The stone in the garden, the metal of the doorknob, your own body, everything vibrates at specific frequencies. The difference between a stone and a thought is not that one vibrates and the other doesn't. It's the speed of vibration. There's a precise vibrational scale in the universe. At the base, we find the densest matter, rocks, metals, and minerals, vibrating at the lowest frequencies. Above, organic matter vibrates more rapidly, plants, animals, and the human body. Going up the scale, we find energy in its various forms, heat, light, and electricity, vibrating at even higher frequencies. At the top of this hierarchy is thought, the most subtle and rapid form of vibration known. When you think, your brain generates real, measurable electrical impulses. An electroencephalogram records these brainwaves in hertz, cycles per second. Thoughts of gratitude and appreciation generate coherent brainwaves between 8 and 12 hertz, known as alpha waves. Anger and frustration produce high beta waves between 20 and 30 hertz in chaotic and disorganized patterns. Each mental state has its unique vibrational signature. The Kybalion reveals another fundamental principle: as above, so below, as below, so above. This principle of correspondence means that the same laws that govern the movement of planets govern the movement of electrons. The same laws that determine how sound waves propagate determine how thoughts propagate. There are no special laws for different levels of reality. There's a single law operating at all scales. Quantum physics has discovered something that hermeticists have always known. Observation affects the observed. In the famous double-slit experiment, subatomic particles behave as waves of possibility until they're observed. At the moment of observation, the wave collapses into a specific particle at a specific location. Your attention, your act of observing, literally collapses infinite possibilities into a specific reality. The quantum field that permeates all space is an ocean of pure potential. Each point in this field contains all possibilities. When you hold a specific thought with emotional intensity, you're emitting a particular vibrational frequency into this field. The field responds not to your words or superficial desires. It responds to your actual vibrational frequency, determined by the combination of sustained thought and emotion. Each change in your thought pattern instantly alters your vibrational signature. Think of how a tuning fork works. When it vibrates at a specific frequency, other tuning forks tuned to the same note begin to vibrate spontaneously, even at a distance. You're constantly emitting your vibrational note into the field, and the field responds by bringing experiences, people, and circumstances that resonate with that frequency. The law of attraction, known to hermeticists for millennia, is simply the principle of vibration in operation. Like attracts like at the vibrational level. A person vibrating at the frequency of fear attracts experiences that validate and amplify fear. A person vibrating at the frequency of abundance attracts opportunities that confirm and expand abundance. The principle of cause and effect from the Kybalion establishes that nothing happens by chance. Every effect has its cause, every cause has its effect. Your current results, financial, relational, and health, are effects. The cause is the vibrational frequency that you've been consistently maintaining through your dominant thoughts and emotions. Changing the effects without changing the vibrational cause is impossible. Consider how this operates in practice. You wake up worried about money. That worry generates a specific frequency, contracted, tense, and lacking. During the day, that frequency acts as a perceptual filter. You notice high prices, hear conversations about crisis, and remember bills to pay. Your brain, obeying the frequency you're emitting, filters billions of bits of information to show only what corresponds to the vibration of scarcity. Opportunities for prosperity pass unnoticed, not because they don't exist, but because they're on a different frequency from yours. Kybalion photography visually captures these energy fields. A leaf photographed with this technique shows a luminous halo around it, its visible vibrational field. Humans photographed show fields that change in color and intensity based on emotional states. When you're angry, your field shows specific colors and patterns. When you're in a state of appreciation, the field transforms completely. But knowing that everything vibrates is just information. For this information to transform into personal power, a specific mechanism is needed that engraves new frequencies deeply into your mind until they become your automatic natural vibration. The knowledge that everything vibrates remains sterile until it's transformed into an automatic neural habit. The fifth hermetic principle of the Kybalion provides the exact mechanism. Everything flows out and in, everything has its tides, all things rise and fall. The measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left. Rhythm compensates. Applied to mental transformation, this principle reveals that new thought patterns must be repeated rhythmically until they completely replace the old ones. Repetition is not a vague motivational concept. It's a specific biological process that reconstructs the physical architecture of the brain. When you repeat a thought or action for 21 consecutive days, the formation of myelin begins, a fatty substance that wraps around neural connections like insulation around electrical wires. After 66 days of consistent repetition, this myelination makes the neural pathway 100 times faster than non-myelinated pathways. What once required conscious effort becomes an instant, automatic response. Imagine your brain as a dense forest. Your thoughts are travelers crossing this forest. The thoughts that you think repeatedly have created well-defined trails, paths of least resistance. A thought of scarcity that you've cultivated for 20 years is a multi-lane neural highway. A new thought of abundance is just an idea trying to make its way through dense vegetation. Without repetition, the vegetation grows back and the path disappears. With daily repetition, the new path widens until it becomes the preferred route. The principle of polarity from the Kybalion clarifies something fundamental. Everything is dual, everything has poles, everything has its pair of opposites. Like and unlike are the same. Opposites are identical in nature, but different in degree. Scarcity and abundance are not different things. They're different degrees of the same thing. Cold and heat are both temperatures. Darkness and light are both the presence of photons. Fear and courage are both responses to the unknown. This means that transforming scarcity into abundance doesn't require eliminating something and creating another. It requires moving along the vibrational spectrum of the same quality. You're not trying to destroy thoughts of poverty and create thoughts of wealth from nothing. You're raising the frequency of thoughts about resources, moving from the negative pole to the positive of the same spectrum. Each time you write your specific financial goal, not more money, but the exact value, $10,000 monthly, you're engraving a specific frequency into your neural circuits. Handwriting is particularly powerful because it engages multiple brain areas simultaneously: motor coordination, visual processing, and language centers. 15 daily written repetitions of this same goal create a deep neural impression that casual thinking would never achieve. The process occurs in 3 distinct phases. First phase, days 1 through 7, maximum resistance. The old neural pathways fight to maintain dominance. The person feels discomfort, doubt, or even irritation with the practice. The brain is spending extra energy to form new connections. Second phase, days 8 through 21. Resistance decreases. The new connections begin to establish themselves. The practice becomes easier, although it still requires conscious effort. Third phase, days 22 through 66. Integration. The new pattern begins to operate automatically. The person finds themselves naturally thinking in terms of the new paradigm, but mechanical repetition alone is not sufficient. The Kybalion emphasizes that thought without emotion is dead geometry. When you repeat a thought of prosperity while feeling anxiety about money, you're sending contradictory signals. The thought says abundance, the emotion says scarcity. The quantum field responds to the totality of your vibration, thought plus emotion. The complete formula requires 3 synchronized elements: repeated thought, mental frequency, corresponding feeling, emotional frequency, and aligned action, physical frequency. Writing $10,000 monthly while feeling the emotion of already possessing that value, then acting during the day as someone who earns that amount, this creates vibrational coherence at all levels. The brain has a mechanism called long-term potentiation. The more a neural circuit is activated, the stronger it becomes. Simultaneously, long-term synaptic depression occurs. unused circuits weaken and are eventually pruned. Each day that you practice the new pattern and ignore the old, you're literally reconstructing the physical architecture of your brain. Observe how this operates. You wake up and immediately write your detailed vision. The neurons fire in the new pattern. During coffee, instead of reading negative news, you read material that reinforces the new frequency. More firing in the new circuit. Before each meal, visualize the achieved goal for 30 seconds. More neural reinforcement. Before sleeping, mentally review the day as if you already lived in that reality. The circuit strengthens while you sleep. After 2 weeks of this practice, something remarkable happens. The new thought arises spontaneously. After a month, it becomes difficult to think in the old pattern. After 2 months, the new pattern is as automatic as the old one was. The transformation is not psychological or spiritual in the abstract sense. It's a measurable physical reconfiguration of the brain's circuits. But where exactly is this reprogramming occurring? To truly master this process, we need to understand the dual architecture of the mind and how it processes these new frequencies. The process of neural reprogramming through repetition occurs in a dual processing system that the Kybalion describes through the principle of gender. Gender is in everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principles. Gender manifests itself on all planes. In the human mind, this expresses itself as the conscious-subconscious duality, two aspects of the same unified mind operating in perfect complementarity. The conscious mind represents the masculine principle, characterized by activity, analysis, and selectivity. It processes 40 bits of information per second. It's the gatekeeper that decides what enters the inner temple of the mind. It possesses the power of yes and no, of deliberate choice, of intentional direction. When you decide to focus on a specific thought, you're using the conscious faculty. When you reject an idea, it's the conscious exercise of its power of selection. The subconscious mind embodies the feminine principle, receptive, creative, and generative. It processes 11 million bits of information per second. It accepts without question everything that the conscious mind repeatedly allows to enter. It has no capacity for rejection or critical analysis. It's pure creative power, but it needs direction. The subconscious is the mental womb where seeds planted by the conscious grow to manifestation. The 6 higher mental faculties represent the instruments through which the conscious directs and modulates the vibrational frequency. First, perception, the ability to choose the meaning of any situation. Where one person sees failure, another sees learning. The situation is neutral. Perception determines the resulting vibrational frequency. Second, will, the power to maintain a specific frequency regardless of external circumstances. Third, imagination, the laboratory where new frequencies are constructed before being planted in the subconscious. Fourth faculty, memory, not just recall of facts, but the ability to access previous vibrational states. You can remember a moment of triumph and instantly access that frequency. Fifth, reason, the power to organize thoughts in logical sequences that build or dismantle beliefs. Sixth, intuition, the direct perception of subtle frequencies, the ability to sense the vibration before it materializes. The subconscious doesn't distinguish between a physical experience and a vividly imagined experience because both produce the same neural vibrational signature. When you visualize yourself successfully presenting to an audience, your subconscious registers, "I am someone who presents successfully." The same neurotransmitters are released. The same brain regions are activated. The same vibrational pattern is established. This is the secret behind an observable phenomenon. People who mentally rehearse a performance improve as much as those who practice physically. Pianists who only visualize themselves playing a piece show development in the same motor areas of the brain as pianists practicing on real pianos. The subconscious executed the program as if it were a physical reality. The manifestation process follows an invariable sequence. Repeated conscious thought imprints itself on the subconscious. The subconscious, accepting this as truth, alters the internal paradigm. The modified paradigm generates new automatic emotions. These emotions direct new actions. The actions produce corresponding physical results. There are no exceptions to this sequence. Consider how this operates in the scarcity cycle. The conscious, observing lack of money, repeats thoughts of deficiency. The subconscious accepts, "I am someone who doesn't have enough money." This paradigm generates automatic anxiety about finances. The anxiety directs actions of contraction, avoiding opportunities, refusing investments, operating in survival mode. The actions produce more scarcity, confirming the original paradigm. Reversal requires understanding that the subconscious is literal and obedient. When you affirm, "I am achieving prosperity," the subconscious registers that prosperity is in the future, not the present. When you declare, "I am prosperous now," even though physical evidence contradicts it, the subconscious immediately begins to reorganize perceptions, emotions, and impulses to align with this instruction. The principle of correspondence operates here with a mathematical precision. The inner world must correspond to the outer world. If the outer is not corresponding to what you consciously desire, the problem is in the subconscious program. 95% of daily behavior operates on automatic, directed by subconscious programs. You may consciously desire wealth, but if the subconscious program says money is difficult, your automatic actions will create financial difficulty. The period before sleep and just after waking represent critical windows. In these moments, brainwaves naturally slow to theta frequencies, the same state in which the subconscious is most receptive. Instructions given in these periods penetrate deeply without the interference of the fully active conscious critical filter. The conscious mind can process the past, present, and future. It can analyze, compare, and project. The subconscious operates only in the present. For it, there's no "I will be" or "I was," only "I am." Each instruction must be given in the present tense to be accepted and executed. "I am" becomes the most powerful creation command that exists. But a crucial question arises. If the subconscious is so powerful and obedient, why do most people remain stuck in limiting patterns? The answer lies in programming installed before the conscious critical mind was even formed. The answer to persistent limiting patterns is found in the first 8 years of life. During this period, the human brain operates predominantly at theta frequency, 4 to 8 Hz, the same state that adults experience only in deep meditation or in the moments before falling asleep. In theta, there's no critical filter, there's no analysis or rejection, there's only total absorption. The Kybalion establishes through the principle of mentalism that all creation begins with mental impressions. Between 0 and 8 years old, you weren't choosing your mental impressions. You were absorbing the dominant vibrational frequencies of your environment like a sponge absorbs water. Each word, each gesture, each emotion expressed by the adults around you was recorded directly in your subconscious without editing or questioning. Observe the precision of this mechanism. When your father counted money with tension on his face, your brain in theta recorded, "Money causes tension." When your mother said, "We're not that kind of people," about a prosperous family, it was engraved, "Prosperity is not for us." When you heard, "Money doesn't grow on trees," for the 10th time, the program was established. Resources are scarce and difficult. These weren't just ideas. They were complete vibrational frequencies, thought, emotion, and energy combined, installed at the deepest level of your mental operating system. They became your paradigm, the collection of subconscious programs that now controls 95% of your daily behavior. The paradigm functions like a mental thermostat. Just as a thermostat always returns the temperature to the programmed setting, your paradigm always returns your life to the programmed limits. You can consciously work hard to increase your income, but if the paradigm is set to $50,000 per year, circumstances will arise to bring you back to that level. Unexpected expenses, missed opportunities, self-sabotaging decisions. The paradigm has thousands of ways to keep you within the programmed zone. The principle of cause and effect from the Kybalion operates here with relentless precision. Your current results are effects. The cause is the vibrational paradigm installed in childhood. Examine your bank account. It reveals your monetary programming. Observe your relationships. They mirror the relational patterns you witnessed before age 8. Analyze your health. It reflects the beliefs about body and vitality absorbed as a child. Precise identification of the paradigm requires systematic reverse analysis. First, list every area where you experience repetitive, unsatisfactory results. Do you always end relationships at the same point? Do you always hit the same financial ceiling? Do you always sabotage success at the critical moment? These patterns are not coincidences. They're programs executing perfectly. Second, identify the dominant emotion that arises when you think about changing that area. Fear, guilt, a feeling of not deserving. That emotion is the vibrational signature of the program. It's the exact frequency that was installed in childhood and continues operating automatically. Third, trace back to the first memory of that specific sensation. Not the first time you consciously noticed it, but the first time you felt that emotional frequency, usually before age 8, perhaps observing an argument about money, perhaps hearing a comment about your capabilities, perhaps witnessing a specific relational pattern. Fourth, recognize the vibrational frequency that was installed at that moment. It wasn't just an idea or belief, it was a complete vibrational program, including specific thoughts, automatic emotions, action patterns, and possibility limits. This program has been operating silently since then, filtering experiences, directing decisions, and creating your reality. The paradigm operates as a powerful perceptual filter. If you have a scarcity program constantly vibrating, opportunities for abundance become literally invisible. It's not that you consciously reject them, you don't perceive them. Your reticular activating system, obeying the paradigm, filters billions of bits of information to show only what corresponds to the programmed frequency. A person with a paradigm of relationships are difficult won't see signs of genuine interest. They won't notice connection opportunities. They'll interpret neutral gestures as rejection. The paradigm doesn't just influence perception, it controls it completely. You see what you're programmed to see. The principle of vibration reveals that these paradigmatic programs are constantly emitting their frequency into the quantum field. Like a radio station broadcasting 24 hours, you're broadcasting the frequency of your paradigm. The field responds with precision, bringing people, situations, and circumstances that correspond exactly to that frequency. Paradigm transformation doesn't happen through superficial positive thinking or occasional affirmations. It requires vibrational saturation, consistent bombardment of the subconscious with the new frequency until the old program is completely overwritten. It's not enough to think differently occasionally. It's necessary to vibrate differently consistently until the new frequency becomes the dominant pattern. The paradigm resists change because it was installed as a survival mechanism. Your child brain interpreted the patterns of the environment as necessary to survive in that context. Changing the paradigm seems threatening to the subconscious because it means abandoning what worked for survival. But what guaranteed survival at age 5 now guarantees mediocrity at 30, 40, or 50 years old. We now arrive at the point of total integration, how to use all this knowledge to consciously establish a new dominant vibrational frequency and become the deliberate architect of your own reality. You now possess all the necessary elements to completely rewrite your base vibrational frequency. The 7th hermetic principle of the Kybalion, the principle of gender, reveals the final mechanism of creation. All manifestation in the universe results from the interaction between the masculine principle, directive, electric, conscious force, and the feminine principle, creative, magnetic, subconscious force. In the human mind, this means that your conscious decision must impregnate the receptive subconscious until it generates physical reality, the birth of a new experience. Precision in defining the target frequency is not organizational preference, it's absolute vibrational law. When you declare, "I want more money," you're emitting a frequency of continued lack, because more implies that the current is not enough, and there will always be an unreachable more. When you establish the exact value that will transform your life, that specific number that allows the desired freedom, you create a clear image that your subconscious can execute. It's the difference between saying, "I want to travel," and visualizing yourself boarding a plane for a specific destination on a scheduled date. The subconscious, which operates through images and sensations, cannot process abstractions. It needs precise coordinates to navigate the field of infinite possibilities. The principle of vibration demonstrates that each mental instruction needs to carry absolute clarity to generate corresponding manifestation. Just as a sculptor cannot create a statue with the instruction, "Make something beautiful," he needs to see the exact form emerging from the marble. Your subconscious requires a detailed vision of the final result. Imprecision generates energetic dispersion. Precision concentrates all creative power at a single point of manifestation. The principle of rhythm reveals that everything in the universe pulses between expansion and contraction. Your essential being follows this rhythm, naturally seeking expansion. When you experience deep dissatisfaction with current limitations, it's not personal inadequacy. It's your fundamental frequency of growth colliding with artificial paradigmatic barriers. The discomfort of stagnation is your internal navigation system signaling misalignment between your vibrational potential and your current expression. Desires arise as indicators of available but unaccessed frequencies. The Kybalion establishes that nothing can exist on the mental plane without having correspondence in potential on the physical plane. When the desire to lead arises, leadership capacity already exists in a latent state, vibrating above your current paradigm. Desire is the vibrational bridge between where you are and where your expansive nature seeks to be. Complete vibrational alignment requires precise orchestration during each 24-hour cycle. Upon awakening, there's a brief window where the mind floats between sleep and waking. That moment where you don't yet remember exactly where you are or what day it is. In this transitional state, the critical filter that normally rejects new ideas is not yet operating. It's like the door of a mental safe that opens briefly before automatic defenses take control. The morning visualization must last the time necessary for each sensory detail to be completely experienced, not scattered seconds of vague thought, but sufficient minutes for you to see the colors, feel the textures, hear the sounds, and experience the emotions of the desired reality. During this period, you're not imagining the future. You're establishing a present frequency. The subconscious processes only in the now. When you see the specific numbers growing, feel the quality of the desired environment and hear exact words of recognition, the brain produces the same neural discharges that it would produce if this were an immediate physical reality. The principle of correspondence demands alignment between internal frequency and external action. Each physical action carries a vibrational signature. When you think abundance but act with scarcity, avoiding necessary investments, contracting before opportunities, operating in survival mode, you create vibrational dissonance. The quantum field receives contradictory signals and responds with manifested confusion, progress followed by inexplicable setbacks. During the day, constant mental vigilance becomes essential. The transmutation of thoughts follows the principle of polarity. Worry and planning exist on the same vibrational spectrum. One vibrates in fear's contraction, the other in conscious control's expansion. You don't try to eliminate worry. It's impossible to destroy something that exists. You transmute it by sliding to the opposite pole of the same spectrum. Like transforming cold into heat, they're not different things, just different degrees of temperature. The mental energy remains, but it vibrates constructively instead of destructively. Inspired action differs fundamentally from forced action. When your internal frequency aligns with the desired outcome, the principle of cause and effect operates through what appear to be coincidences. The exact book appears when you need that information. The necessary person calls at the critical moment. The perfect opportunity arises when you're prepared. This occurs because you're vibrating at the same frequency as these elements, creating mutual magnetic attraction. Like two tuning forks tuned to the same note, when one vibrates, the other responds automatically, even at a distance. At night, in the transition to sleep, the mind returns to a receptive state similar to awakening. Strategic mental review in this period is not a psychological exercise. It's a literal rewriting of the day's impressions. The brain, consolidating experiences during sleep, doesn't differentiate between what happened physically and your vivid and emotional revision. Each night, you overwrite the old paradigm's records with the frequencies of the new, like repeatedly recording over an old tape until only the new recording remains. The complete process, morning establishment of frequency, vigilance, and transmutation during the day, and nighttime consolidation, creates cumulative vibrational momentum. Like a heavy wheel that begins spinning slowly but gains irresistible speed, your new frequency gradually overlays the old paradigm until it becomes your automatic natural vibration. You now understand the complete architecture. Reality responds to the vibrational frequency maintained through consistent thoughts and emotions. The paradigm installed in childhood determined your base frequency until this moment. Through conscious application of the hermetic principles, using focused attention, directed imagination, systematic repetition, and complete alignment between mind and action, you possess the literal power to rewrite your fundamental frequency, and therefore completely transform the reality that you experience. Manifestation is not hope or blind faith. It's precise mental engineering operating through laws as reliable as gravity. When you maintain a specific frequency with sufficient consistency, reality must reorganize itself to correspond. There are no exceptions. The universe has no favorites. It responds with mathematical precision to the frequency that you sustain. All change begins with understanding your role as co-creator, and the only way to connect with this divine intelligence is through meditation. We've developed a set of audio tools to help you access this higher state of consciousness. To learn more and get immediate access, click the link on the screen or in the comments. If this video resonated with you, write in the comments, "It made sense to me,"